And this is me back with Adderley answering some more of your questions as promised, and I apologise that this is overdue. So the first question is from Niall Norton, who asks, what can you tell us about the Horus Heresy Prospero duology with Graham McNeill? That is Prospero Burns, which I'm writing, and Thousand Suns, which Graham is writing, which together depict the story of the clash between the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns on Prospero, a very key event in the history of the Horus Heresy. We've spoken about this a lot on our blogs and various bits and pieces, but it is already proving to be enormous fun. For a start, we split the two legions in ways that we weren't expecting to do. Graham's doing Thousand Suns, obviously, and I'm doing the Space Wolves, which means that I've got a bigger challenge from my own point of view, because magicians I can deal with. The whole Space Wolves thing was an interesting new thing for me to get my teeth into. And we're having great fun because they're both self-contained novels, but we are keeping each other informed every step of the way. We're seeing what each other writes all the way through, so we're deliberately building connections between the two. Now, it may well be that when you read them, the novels will contradict each other because they're two different accounts, but that's the point. You can decide what was the truth and what was lies and what's spin and what's propaganda. But there are also, I think, very interesting connections between the two, that if you draw them together you will notice the way different characters work, and how a character in one book will appear to be a good guy and in another book will not appear to be quite so good. It's an interesting dynamic. We've worked quite closely together before on the very first two Horus books, and that was very much more of a sort of relay race that I started running, and then I handed the baton off to Graham, and we again talked about it in great detail, and I deliberately set up loads of things that I knew he would need to use and would want to use, but this is a simultaneous thing, and it's proving to be, I think, possibly even more creative and more exciting. So it may well be a mechanism that we use again later on. I'm thinking particularly of the Battle of Terror, where there was, who's going to get to write it? Well, I can't see any reason why more than one person can't write that enormous event depicting different angles of it. So that's what they're about. They're spring launches next year. Very exciting, as I said, and I'm just really enjoying writing it. So, how many people will Lehman Russ headbutt in Prospero Burns? 473, and a small dachshund called Colin. What percentage of the book will contain the quaffing of ale? Actually, loads of it. Obviously, it's a Space Marine book, but actually, none at all. Part of my new hardline approach to Space Wolves is to stop them doing preposterously Viking things in that completely stereotypical way. They're going to be absolutely badass Vikings, but sitting around a mead hall going, "Pass the ale," because I wish to quaff some. That ain't going to be happening. And if that as a Space Wolf player or enthusiast fills you with fear, then I invite you to read the book, because I'm sure you'll go, "Oh no, they're pretty good anyway." They're going to have martinis with a little cherry. No, they're not. Tom said, "Hi Dan, who will write the last Horus Heresy book?" Well, as I said at the beginning there, originally it was going to be a bit like Pop Idol. We'd have to keep auditioning for it until we were down to the final three, and then me and Graham, and we'd have to fight each other with knives to find out who did it. Working on Prospero Burns and Thousand Suns has taught us a different way of approaching these very, very big events, and I think that might actually be a much more, not only much more diplomatic and bloodless way of deciding who writes the end, but also much more interesting from the reader's point of view, because you won't just get the one book, you'll get all sorts of different things. Hastatus said, "Will Loken ever make another appearance?" Yes. Rumours of his demise have been greatly exaggerated. Anyone who tells you he's never coming back is a liar. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes the 9 pages of questions that everyone was kind enough to send me. So thank you very much. I hope I've answered everything. If I've missed you off, I do apologise. It was not my intention, and if I've not answered your question fully enough, again I apologise. This isn't the last time we're going to do this. There will be more opportunities for questions and more opportunities for me to sit and talk at you. And who knows, at some point I might sit down here with the first chapter of Triumph and actually read you a bedtime story. How does that sound? Alright, thank you very much. See you soon.